Hey everybody, Sternritter B. Hashwolf here, coming at you from Sternritter Purgatory. This is the place where all the Sternritters that are no longer in the story go, and this is where Kubo decides to put me when I'm not giving out exposition. But, yeah, that's alright, never mind any of that, because today I'm going to be launching a new segment called Damn Straight. This is the show where I explain to you all the things about the Sternritters and the Quincy's that Kubo probably will never tell you because most likely he forgot. So let's kick off today's first episode with the 5 war potentials. Yeah, remember those? I don't really either, but I do have a list here of all of them, so here they are. Number 1, Ichigo. Kind of obvious, he's the main character. Number 2, Kenpachi Zaraki. You know, obviously, badass, has to kill everything, so he has to be on there. Number 3 is Sosuke Aizen. I think that's mostly because his Ryatsu is stronger and more powerful than the country of Russia. Then we have number 4, which will be Uehara Kisuke. Let's be honest here, if he wasn't in this series, Ichigo would have been dead in the first 50 chapters. And lastly, we have the most terrifying of all the war potentials. The one entity that is stronger than all 4 put together. And that is the chair. Oh, God, I think I just pissed my pants just thinking about it. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 623, entitled, whichever, Against the Judgment. Alright, so we open up on a full pan shot of the Wadente, remembering because of the barrier and the little Mimi Hage Yuha minions coming down, the entire barrier is now basically coated in blackness, leading to like a midnight inside the barrier, but now all that's being chipped away as Sosuke Aizen is emitting his massive monolith tower cock of a Ryatsu into the sky to basically strip out all the Mimi Hage little minions because he's planning on, I guess he's just going ahead with the plan. I mean, last chapter he was just like, oh, well, if you guys need the palace down here, I can just yank it down, but I don't really think he was looking around for people to, like, confirm, oh yeah, Aizen, sure, go ahead, you could do that, buddy. He wasn't waiting for permission, he's just, like, doing it just to show that he can. So, his Ryatsu starts shooting up into the sky as everyone looks on in awe. Oh god, you're gonna kill us all! You're surprised by this in the slightest, I don't know why. But anyway, everybody strap on, because we're doing this! Don't you mean strap in? I know what I said. If we survive this, I swear to God, I'm gonna cryogenically freeze your nuts and use them as ice cubes. Yeah, maybe after you're done. Oh, jeez. Huh. Alright, so apparently what happened was when Aizen was in the middle of shooting it up into the sky, it hit like an invisible force field or something because it began to ricochet back down, and then we had like these little meteorites of Aizen's Ryatsu crashing around and almost like killing everyone, basically. But then we have Shunsui appear, and he gives us the 411 on what's up in the hizzy fo shizzy. Okay, yeah, so remember that BDSM gear that Aizen's wearing that apparently is supposed to prevent his Ryatsu from leaving a certain portion of his body, and yet he was still able to use his, you know, Kurohitsuji and everything? Apparently that is still in effect, and the idea behind it is that it encloses his Ryatsu like around him, so whenever he was shooting his Ryatsu up into the sky, it basically did hit an invisible barrier that the seals created, and then it just shot right back down. Aizen is surprised by this because you can imagine he was probably trying really hard to... There's so many sexual innuendos in this chapter, I don't know why. Anytime that Aizen pops up, there usually is. Maybe I have some weird subconscious obsession with him, I don't know. And yeah, so Shunsui basically says that, yeah, even though it doesn't matter how powerful you are, the Soul Society technology has worked for hundreds of years to develop these seals. This is basically the apex of our technology. You know, it doesn't get better than this. And to further explain, here we have a mad scientist. So the most interesting thing I found in the chapter was the way that Mayuri describes how these seals came into existence, okay? Because this has been a little bit of a question that's been brought up since Aizen returned. It's just like, you know, if Aizen was so strong, how was the Soul Society able to contain him, right? Well, Mayuri brings up a very simple explanation for this. He's like, okay, we know that we can't destroy Ryatsu. We can't get rid of it. We can't completely lock it up. As long as the heart of a Shinigami is beating, then the Ryatsu is going to be continuously, created, and there's nothing we can do about that. And they've known about this, ever since the Soul Society and Shinigami have existed. So they figured the next best thing to stop that would be to seal it. So this isn't something Mayuri just came up with in his lab, in the past 17 months. This isn't something that even like Kiryu Hikefune developed 100 years ago. Ever since Shinigami have existed, and they've realized, okay, what if one of us goes rogue and we have to stop them? We can't kill the Ryatsu because, as long as their hearts are still beating, then we have nothing to do. We can't seal the Ryatsu. So the next best thing is to restrict it to their form. So this is technology the Soul Society has been working on and fine-tuning for maybe thousands of years. That's why it's so effective against Aizen. And an interesting thing that even goes beyond this is that Mayuri alludes to the fact that there's more people in Muken, the 8th prison, that cannot die. In fact, he alludes to the fact that the entire purpose of Muken is to restrain Shinigami that simply cannot die or that are immortal. Like, they had a special place for this. Now, granted, Aizen was probably one of the newest recipients to that place. I don't think there's people like Aizen that just can't die or that are immortal, popping up every couple of years. Aizen probably was the first person to be sent there in a very long time. But the idea remains, like, I want to know what the other prisoners are down there in Muken. I mean, even if they're maybe Shinigami or, creatures or hollows or whatever that have been around for maybe thousands of years and we wouldn't know them, it's still interesting to know that Aizen was not alone down there. Now I'm starting to think maybe they are going to include Arturo Plateado at some point because, if you played the games, he actually was imprisoned because, they couldn't kill him or something like that. So I'm like, if they do that, like tie that back up in canon, that would just be absolutely hilarious. But Kubo, there's a route you could go for it. Make Arturo Plateado canon. I don't know what you could do with him, but it'd be cool. Mayuri punctuates this by pulling out the device that allows him to control Aizen's restraints and, sporting his rape face because, he's Mayuri. That's just kind of what he does. Kind of looks like a donut, really. And basically the deal with that is, I guess it's like a dial, so Mayuri can manually control and alter the level of restrictions, the restraint level that Aizen's seal is. So that maybe explains why, last chapter he was able to do Kurohitsugi, and now, because he's starting to, emit all his Ryatsu, Mayuri's just like, oh yeah, I can't let you do that, and he just cranks up the level on the restraint, so that means it bounds it all back down. Now, Aizen, of course, isn't just going to sit back and take this wholeheartedly. He's not just going to be like, oh, okay, that's cute. You can bind my Ryatsu. Well, okay, I guess that makes sense. No, he's just like, okay, crank that shit up to 11 and let's stress test this, Mayuri. And, Mayuri sports his grin and he's just like, oh, my dignity and my honor shall not be tarnished by you. And given both of their personalities, there's no doubt that they were just about to do just that. Mayuri was just about to crank it up as high as it could go, and Aizen would try to break out of it, and whatever would happen with that, I don't know. It gets interrupted because Aizen gets shot with the letter U. Oh yeah, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Sternritter U, the underbelly. Okay, are we even still trying to get to the Soul Palace anymore? I don't even really know. But did you ever just sit back and wonder, like, this is our life? Yeah? Yeah, I do. Jakub. Okay, so we have Na show up on the scene along with Basby, Lotato, and Giselle, the 4 remaining Stern Raiders that have not been completely nuked by Swollen or not dead already. I mean, Bambietta might still be around. I don't know. We don't see her in this chapter. But anyway, the major point here is that they still have their powers. Na still has his ability of the underbelly, and Basby, we later see, has his ability of the heat. By the way, the underbelly, I believe in Japanese, it means defenseless, and underbelly is obviously like a weak point in most organisms, so that's why it's it's basically exploiting defenses. It'll explain it in a second. But I just want to bring up the idea that how they still have their powers when Yuha apparently used his selection on them. Now, this doesn't really include Robert Akutron because he got nuked completely, so I don't know what the hell was up with him. But my idea behind this is basically, remember when the elite Stern Ritter guards were first fighting Nimaya and they just got their ass kicked, like Lilibero and, Harold Valkyrie, they just got killed. And then when Yuha used his Aswollen, Stern Ritter X basically said that, oh, I couldn't use all my power up to this point because I didn't have access to it, but then since Yuha performed his selection, he could. My idea is that kind of reversed now. So Na and Basby can still use their powers. It's just not on the same level as they could before he used Aswollen. That's the best way I can describe it, although I don't know why they're so pissed off, though, because Basby's still like, oh, we're going to betray Yuha. Why? you still have your powers. I mean, all he did was steal maybe a little bit of them. I mean, if he stole your powers completely, I can understand. He kind of forsaken you, but you can still do all the shit you did before, maybe just to a lesser extent. My advice to you would just be, you know, let the Shinigami handle this and, you know, go out and have a vacation somewhere. I mean, you've done enough, seriously. Nanana explains the purpose of his power is it basically sets up a grid that he can observe. Now, I don't know if this grid is just because of his goggles or whatever, but anyway, he can see the world as like a grid, and the people that are in that grid, he can determine the weakness of their Reiatsu, the weak points. We see eyes in here with the grid overlaying him, and we see a bunch of holes throughout his body. This goes back to when he was examining Renji when he was sleeping. I guess it takes more time for him to analyze the subject, but if he has enough time to analyze you and set up that grid, and he can determine where all your weak points are, you're basically screwed. He brings up a weird point with Aizen because there's all these holes around him, and he doesn't know if that's because of the seals or whatever, but he states that it's going to be really easy because all he now has to do is just target the specific locations of his Reiatsu, and that'll take Aizen out, essentially. You know, you kind of remind me a lot of this blind guy I used to have working for me. He was black, sort of an emo. Last time I saw him, he had a hole in his head, though. Oh, you kind of mean like this? Like, what? Fuck! Oh! Ha! Take that, bitch. Okay, so he compares his power sort of like to morphine. It basically is like working like the pressure points of the Reiatsu, I guess would be a good way to look at it, where if you hit him in the right order or hard enough, then I guess it completely paralyzes the Reiatsu and the target, therefore. Although he notices that Aizen is not yet unconscious, even though he just induced him with all that shots, so he notes that Aizen is kind of a monster. Wait a second, though. If he compares his power to morphine, they might have a slight hallucinogenic effect. Hey, Aizen, you okay, man?
I'm so f***ing high right now.
Alright, Aizen's high as balls. That's fucking awesome. You know, guys, we have to stop the story. Come on, just stop it. We have to wait till Aizen comes crashing down before we get any chance to move on. What's your problem, Tekking? You want to hit too? No, man, I'm good. I'm really... Whoa. Whoa, man. This is really weird, dude. Okay. Okay. Think I'm back. Whoa. That was a bad trip, man. Okay. Rest of the chapter goes by pretty quickly. Shunsui notices that the gate is now completely destroyed because of Aizen's little temper tantrum earlier, and now states that it's, you know, all gone. They're gonna have to start completely back over from square one. And isn't that just wonderful? It's just like, we gotta get to the Soul Palace. Okay, well, you know, here's the gateway. We just have to use all these different methods to gather it. Then Aizen's like, ah, shit, man, we don't even need the gateway. Then destroys the gateway, and it's like, oh, wait, I can't do this either. So it's like, are they gonna get there or what? Like, is it gonna be like, it's gonna be like the entire run of the series, and then it's gonna end, and then Kubo's gonna do like a post-chapter where they finally get there and like the battle's completely over. I mean, I swear to God it's gonna happen. Anyway, though, Shunsui notices they're kind of in a jam here because they have no way to escape, and now they only have these Stern Ritters breathing down their necks, so it looks like we're gonna actually get something cool. He shouts down to Uehara to begin reconstructing the gate. He reaches for his blades as an entire army of zombies arrive on the horizon. This is time to get on. Shunsui Kyoraku, captain of the entire Gotei 13, show them your... and we're not going to get anything, I'm sorry. Sorry, I had to act a little bit like we're going to get something there, but no. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Giselle for a little bit, because her little zombie posse show back up. Mayuri notices that it's kind of confusing that she was still able to survive that, but then comes to the conclusion that, oh, I guess that the zombie puppet master must have been a zombie herself then, eh? Oh, you don't fucking say, Mayuri! The person that can control and manipulate zombies as a basis for their power turned out to be a zombie themselves. That fucking M. Night Shyamalan twist of the century right there. Seriously, you didn't even figure that? Like, when he used like zombie Kensei to stab Giselle, I was just like, really? Is that all you're going to do to her? Aren't you going to at least inject her with the vertigo drug or something? No, that's like he stabbed her, took the blade out, and just knocked her aside and just figured that would be good enough. Oh, wow, that is bad for you, Mayuri. I mean, I know you got a lot of shit on your plate right now, but seriously, that's a major oversight. That's not like you. I like Giselle, though, in this chapter, because she doesn't really say much. All she does is just, you know, pull out her tongue against Mayuri because he failed to kill her, which, okay, Mayuri, you kind of deserve that. You're my favorite captain, but you still deserve to be mocked by that little teenage girl, boy, man thing, because this is not the finest hour for you. Anyway, though, I guess it's time to get this show on the road. Na declares their intention to fight. He shouts to everyone, I've completed my observations on you all. I'll paralyze you all one by one with my morphine pattern. Come on, bring it off! Oh! And Basby then shoots him in the back. He's kind of good at that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Jeez, Basby, why'd you have to shoot him in the back like that? Well, I'll tell you why, Latato, because fuck you, that's why. Fuck me, what did I do? I didn't even... Oh, okay, I see what you did there. Yeah, that was That was really clever, Basby. How long did you take to come up with that one? About 3 hours. Yeah, that's about right for you. Yeah, so Basby drops Na. He's possibly dead or unconscious. I don't know. I mean, you know, we found out what his power was finally, and that kind of makes me think, like, that Kubo is just going to have him be killed now because he's not important. It's just like, oh, well, I need to reveal what his power is. Okay, his power is the underbelly. Great. Okay, we can take him out of the series. So I want to question, though, exactly how did they mutually come to this agreement? Because both Basby, Latato, and Giselle, they all agreed on this, basically, let's help out the Shinigami now, and Na was the one that was just like, oh, okay, let's take him out. Like, I guess they didn't clue him in on this or whatever, and Basby, you know, waited until he used his power on them before he attacked him. So I don't know. But anyway, the main point here is that Basby is calling for revolution against Yuha because he betrayed them using the Auswollen powers and basically absorbed their powers, I guess, without their consent. And, you know, he's basically all over. They finally realized that Yuha is a dick. You know, took us okay, 1 chapter for us to realize Yuha was a dick. Took them over 100. Okay, they're a little bit late to the party, but hey, they found out, so let's give them some claps for that. And they say, okay, here's the deal. We're going to help you get to the Soul Palace. We'll help you reforge the gate. We'll use our Ryatsu to help forge the gate. In exchange, you just have to take us with you to have, like, an alliance. And then that's the end of the chapter, basically, where Shunsui just looks on like, oh, okay, I see how it is. And that's the end right there. We don't actually see Shunsui agreeing to this, saying, oh, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. But yeah, that's basically the high point of this chapter, what the call is for, that Basby and Giselle and Lodato are the only Sturmritters that are really left, and they're going to fight against Yuha because the way they treated him. So really not much covered in this chapter. The high points, of course, were that, as well as the revealing of the technology, the actual limit of the technology that the Soul Society has at their disposal. I don't know if that's going to play a major part coming up, because you'd think at some point they're going to have to either lower the restraints on Aizen to the point where he can actually fight, or that he'll just have to take the seals off of him. I don't know which way they're going to go with it, but it's cool that actually they explained what it was. I want to find out what other prisoners are in Muken. They're probably not going to, that's probably not going to be integral to the plot, but I'd still like to know. Aizen, in terms of, like, him being damaged by Nanana's power, I mean, if Nanana's dead, does that mean his power's effect goes away? But even if he isn't dead, even if his powers are still active, obviously it's not going to be something that's going to take take Aizen out. I mean, he's freaking Aizen. So, he might have been really dramatic with the, like, oh, I'm, like, so high right now, guys. I'm, like, so out of it. But next chapter, he's probably just going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm fine. No big deal. So, yeah. But, anyway, Nanana's power, it was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I thought it was going to be the Understand, which I'll have a little bit of a call that shit dance on this one, because it's very similar to the power I thought of. I mean, my concept for the ability of the Understand was basically the longer he observes somebody, the longer he perceives their weak points or who they really are, like their memories and stuff. So I was off in terms of, like, the memory and personality, but I was, like, dead on when it came to the weak points. Like, that is the basis of his power. So, I'll take a little bit of credit for that. But anyway, what do you think's going to happen with Aizen and the Great Gang? Do you think they're all going to just make the gate finally? That gate is a bitch to craft. I mean, apparently, it looks like a simple concept. Like, pour Ryatsu into the thing, makes a gate. Apparently, it takes, like, hours to accomplish this. But, hey, now that maybe the 3 Sternritters are there, maybe they'll get something going on. But, I don't even know. Like once again, we have the same problem that the problem with Grimmjow is, like, there's nobody for Grimmjow to fight. There's really nobody for all these Shinigami to fight. There's the elite Sternritters, which there's 4 of them. Then we have Hashworth, Ryu, and Yuha. Like, who's left? I mean, we have all the Shinigami, like Kenpachi, Byakuya, Renji, Rukia, Shinji, Soifone, Almeida, Shinji, Ikaku, Yumachika, now Basby, Latato, and Giselle against these 8 people. I mean, 7 people. Yeah, I can count, right? Yeah, that's just, like, where's this going? How are you going to organize this properly? I mean, unless the Mimi Hage Yuha minions begin taking on, like, shadowy, negative versions of the other Sternritters, like we get they merge into, like, remnants of the previous Sternritter, unless we get that shit, then I don't see where this is going. Yeah, but don't worry, guys. I mean, this is Taito Kubo we're talking about here. I'm sure he's going to come up with a very clever and intricate way that everyone's going to have another fight in this series, and it's just going to make us all happy as a fandom. Everyone's going to have their shining moments. I'm 114% sure on that. Anyway, don't do drugs, kids. Tekking, signing out.